This past weekend, Value Electronics held their annual TV Shootout, and I look forward to this event every year because they take top TVs from the top brands and they compare them back to back in calibration and outside of calibration this year. And they tell you what's the best TV you can buy depending on the TV technology that you're interested in. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it to the event this year, but the folks at Value Electronics were nice enough to send me a press release with the results. So I'm going to dig into that in this video. And there was something that jumped out at me that was actually a bit surprising, and I'm going to talk about it in this video. So let's get to it. Now, if you aren't familiar with the TV Shootout, Robert Zahn and the team at Value Electronics does it every year in New York City. And this particular event is something that people like me, and probably if you're watching this video, look forward to every year just to find out how well the TVs are doing, especially compared to one another. And this is really an opportunity to check out video quality from the televisions. They're not looking at apps or design or how flat it lays against the wall or anything like that. This is all about picture quality. So what Robert does is he has several different calibrators come in and they calibrate all the TVs to the same standard. Now this year he had both 4K and 8K televisions represented here, and the 4K televisions were all 65 inches, so it made the comparison easy. And they had 3 mini LED TVs and 3 OLED TVs. The mini LED TVs were the Samsung QN95C, the Sharp XLED, and the Hisense U8K. Now, the OLED TVs were the LG G3, the Samsung S95C, and the Sony A95L. Now, a couple things they also had in this year's lineup was a pair of reference monitors, the Sony BVM HX310s. And what they did was they put those two monitors in between the rows of screens. That way the judges could see the screens, but they could also see what the reference was supposed to look like compared to the screens, because these screens are used in color grading suites and things like that to make sure that they have reference grade colors and everything looks as it's supposed to look. So the judges were able to compare again what they were seeing on the TV screens to these reference monitors. And I actually like that because not only was everything calibrated, but it was also able to be compared to a reference monitor. So for this competition, the 4K mini LED TVs were on the top and the OLED TVs were on the bottom, with the reference monitor in between each stack of televisions. And they had 7 official judges, which were people from industry and reviewers and stuff like that. And they were judging on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being the absolute worst and 5 being the absolute best. And they judged in several different categories: SDR performance, HDR performance, and out-of-the-box performance for the 4K televisions. They were looking at grayscale and uniformity, shadow detail, black level, color accuracy, native motion, and HD resolution for the SDR content, and that was changed for the HDR content to average picture level / color. For the out-of-the-box preset mode, they looked at both SDR and HDR content. I'm going to start with the calibrated SDR results. And what we see here is the OLED TVs easily beat out the mini LED TVs. The Sony A95L won this particular round with an average score of 4.5, and the LG G3 came in second place with an average score of 4.2. For the mini LEDs, the Hisense U8K won with an average score of 2.8, and the Samsung QN95C had an average score of 2.7. Now, what I find interesting in this categories is just how close the average score is within the two different groups. The mini LEDs are within a half a point of one another, and so are the OLEDs. But there is a pretty significant jump between the OLEDs and the mini LEDs. If you take the lowest scoring OLED, that being the Samsung S95C, and the best scoring mini LED TV, that being the Hisense U8K, the difference is over 1 point. So that says that there is a pretty significant step up in picture quality between a mini LED TV and an OLED TV. Now let's move on and talk about the calibrated HDR content results. And again, as you can see, the OLEDs easily beat the mini LED TVs, with the Sony A95L again winning with an average score of 4.6, but the Samsung S95C comes right behind it with an average score of 4.2, but quite frankly, it's almost a tie because the LG G3 has an average score of 4.19, so those two are neck and neck. Now the top end mini LED TV is the Samsung QN95C. It has an average score of 2.7, and Coming in second place is actually the Sharp Mini LED TV with an average score of 2.6. So it's doing a little bit better in this particular round. Again, you have the same grouping with everything being within a half a point, depending on what you look at. And also, again, the OLEDs being a pretty big step up over the Mini LED TV. But what I find interesting in this particular category is the shadow detail and black level particular column. I was expecting the Mini LED TVs to be a lot closer in black level to the OLED televisions. But what this says is it's actually really not that close, even though one of the promises of Mini LED is better blacks. So it sounds like they still have a good bit of work to do there, but that was something that I found interesting with this particular section. Now, the final category that they judged for the 4K televisions was out-of-the-box preset mode. So they just went to one of the presets, probably cinema or filmmaker mode or something like that on the television, and just looked at content just like that. And I like this part of the comparison because this is how a lot of people are going to be watching their televisions. Not as many people go and get their TVs professionally calibrated. So a lot of people are going to be picking cinema mode, stuff like that. And these give you those results. So again, you find that the OLED TVs easily beat the Mini LED TVs, with the Sony A95L coming in on top with an average score of 4.4, and the LG G3 coming in second place with an average score of 4.2. with the Samsung QN95C coming in on top for the Mini LED TVs with an average score of 3.4, and the Hisense following right behind it with an average score of 2.8. But again, I look at that HDR shadow detail and I'm still a little bit surprised that the Mini LEDs aren't doing as well. But I think, over time, they'll get better with their tuning and their algorithms and map it out better. So hopefully it'll get better so that we can get that same level of rich black detail between the Mini LED technology and the OLED technology, but it just looks like we're not there. Moving on to the 8K televisions, they looked at them on the second day of the event, and they had 2 Mini LED TVs and 1 OLED. They had the Samsung QN900C, which was a 75-inch Mini LED TV, along with the Sony Z9K, which was again a 75-inch Mini LED TV, and they also had the LG Z2, a 77-inch OLED television. And the judges ranked these the same way they did the 4K televisions, and you have SDR and HDR rankings from 1 to 5. Now let's jump in and let's talk about SDR. Again, the LG Z2 is the OLED and it won this category with an average score of 4.7, and the Sony Z9K came in second place with an average score of 3.8. Now the Sony did do better than the LG OLED in native motion with a score of 4.5, whereas the LG OLED had a score of 4.3. Now, moving on to the HDR content, again, the LG wins with an average score of 4.5, and the Sony comes in second place with an average score of 3.9. But one thing this does tell us is the Mini LED TV is doing better than the OLED in high average picture level, and this is expected. So when you have a scene that has a lot of bright imagery, let's say snow or something like that, and it's covering the majority of the screen, one thing that OLED TV manufacturers do is they will reduce the brightness of that image after some amount of time to reduce the risk of image retention with that particular technology. Well, Mini LED TVs don't suffer from that same risk of image retention, so TV manufacturers don't have to do that. So again, average picture level, high average picture level, you don't really have to worry about that. And that is one area where both TVs scored better than the OLED. Now, again, the black level, same as it was for 4K. Just not as good as I would have expected it to be for Mini LED when compared to an OLED. But overall, these are really good results, and I'm happy that they had the shootout. So if you want to purchase a TV here in 2023, the best 4K television overall is going to be the Sony A95L. And if you're looking for Mini LED, you're going to want to pick up the Samsung QN95C. That's the best Mini LED TV that you can buy today. If you're going into the 8K market, again, the LG Z2 is going to be your pick, and the Sony Z9K is going to be the Mini LED pick for that. And that's based on the TVs that they used for this comparison. All top TVs, all top competitors, that's what they recommend. So again, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section below. Hit us up with a like and subscribe. I'll talk to you next time.